Okay, I wanted to do a quick storytelling, so I'm going to indulge you in a story. I want to show you here on my chin. I don't know if you can really see it in this video, but I have this scar. Like, it's not like that on this side. It's only like that on this side. It's got this line that comes from like here down to here. And so like people ask me like, what the hell happened to your face? Well, I, believe it or not, was actually bit in the face by a horse. So that comes to a surprise to a lot of people, and obviously it came to a surprise for me as well. But, okay, so that's the foreshadowing. Let me get into the story. It was a dark night. And I was out at the farm visiting my horse Snickers, my beloved Snickers, and we'd gone for a ride. And like, I was that kid, okay, so I was 15 when it happened, but I was like that kid who loved every horse I saw, wanted to love them all, and still do love them all. But as I had come home from my horseback ride with Snickers, you know, I let him out into the yard to graze, and I went into the pasture where some other horses were, and I was brushing a 30-plus-year-old Appaloosa gelding named Big D. So Big D's owners lived several hours away, and he was shedding his coat, and so I went in there to kind of brush his fur away. And as I was brushing him, and it was dark time, probably like 7:30, you know, dark, it was nighttime. And as I was brushing Big D, Prince came up. So this horse Prince, he was like a Palomino American saddlebred, and he was kind of like the ruler of the roost. So when Prince came up, Big D, knowing the hierarchy, left. He was like, oh, Prince is here, I'm going. And so as a naive horse lover, horse person, I turned my attention to Prince, which then resulted in me getting bit in the face. So I reached my hand out to him, and he was probably like, you know, 5-10 feet away from me. And I reached my hand out to him to say, hi, Prince, you know, like, I'll pet you too. And he kind of did this thing with his ears. He, like, his ears kind of, like, curled back a little bit, but they kind of did this, and I thought, that's weird, but I didn't get out of the way, and I also didn't try and correct the behavior, which correcting the behavior would have been telling Prince, hey, I'm here grooming Big D. You need to wait your turn. Nowadays, that's what I would do. That's what I've learned to do. But I didn't quite know what I know now back then. So I said, oh, Prince, what are you doing with your ears? You know, and all this happened in like a second. You know, this is really drawn out. So he kind of reels his neck back like this, and then he just steps forward with a foot and reaches with his head at my face. And that's the natural thing that horses do. What do they do to their herd mates? They come up, they posture with their ears, they say, hey, you're not moving, bite. So he postured at me like I was a horse, and I didn't interpret that information, and so came the result, me getting bit in the face. So I luckily had some reflexes, and I drew my face back, but he still made contact, obviously, and so his bottom teeth, like, picture a horse kind of reaching their head up. So like this is his bottom jaw, bit me on the chin, and then his top teeth kind of hit right here. So it was like, oh my gosh, my whole face was in his mouth. And then it you know, closed. And luckily, like, I didn't lose my eye. I didn't lose my lips. Like, I didn't lose any teeth. Like, it just cut my skin. And it was weird. Like, as soon as he made that move, I'm in shock. I'm in total shock. And it felt really weird. Like, my whole face was numb. It's like, you know, if you're in gym class and you get hit in the face with a ball and it kind of rings and buzzes your skin, that's what it felt like. And so I couldn't tell, like, I'm holding my face. I'm like, is my jaw broken? Like, what's going on? I'm getting out of here. And so I ducked under the fence and he, like, left. He might have even turned and ran off back into the pasture, and it was like it's a large pasture, and so he just ran off into the field. And I'm just holding my face like, oh my god. And meanwhile, Snickers, he's still out just grazing on the grass, and I'm like in shock. And so I'm heading over to my mom, who had driven me to the stable. Like, I'm only 15. And I'm saying, Mom, you know, and I'm kind of freaked out. I'm like, Mom! And she's in the car waiting for me, and she, you know, the mother instinct kicks in, and she knows something's wrong. She comes over to me, and, you know, my face was cut. I had a cut, and so I actually had to go in that evening to get stitches, and so I was just freaked out. I was scared. Coming back from that was interesting because here was this horse, who, like, I never thought that horses could do those types of things, you know? I thought all horses were just big sweethearts and, like, they loved you and this. No. So I was kind of took back a little bit, and I tried to be a little more cautious, and I noticed a prejudice developing within me, which might have resulted from the trauma of the incident, Palomino horse. So there were 2 other Palominos at that stable, very nice, kind horses. Actually, several years later, I went back and did equine massage therapy on Link, who was one of the other Palominos. So I noticed that I was getting this prejudice, like, oh no, a Palomino, like, Palominos are bad. And it quickly dawned on me, no, Palominos are not bad. It was Prince and his life circumstances and this one incident that created that issue. So it was really important for me in my recovery to not start to associate all kind of other horses with that, although I really do carry that with me and think a new horse, read them how they are. Don't put your own ideas onto them, like, oh, they love me and they're all very friendly. Look at that horse how they are and how they are presenting themselves to you at that moment, because they might be showing you a completely different type of horse than you thought that they were. So I became a little more informed that day. Oh, his name was Prince. I think I mentioned that earlier, and I just have to say, he was not so charming.